Okay, we'll going to the new chapter, human health and disease. See, there are numerous infections. There are bacteria, virus, protozoans. Okay, there are numerous microorganisms. They has the ability to invade the human system, and they have they can impact on the human system and their immune system and make them weaker and causes symptoms. We call them as a disease. In human health disease, this chapter is broadly classified on what is disease, what are the types of disease, how immune system works on it, the two types of dangerous diseases, and effects of drugs on the human system and types of drugs. Okay, these are the topics which we study on the human health and disease. How human health is affected? It is greatly affected by genetic disorder. What is genetic disorder? A disorder is nothing but a gene get in the genetic sequence, some of the gene get altered, and these altered genes are transferred from generation to generation, causing the genetic disorders like hemophilia, phenylketonuria. Okay, and these are some of the examples which transfers from generation to generations. Coming to infections, a infection by the microorganisms. It may be from the microorganisms. And comes to the lifestyle. In lifestyle, the lifestyle what we practice day to day, that is eating lot of junk foods, unhygienic foods, okay, unhygienic practices, unhygienic lifestyle, okay, contaminated foods, contaminated waters, okay, this all leads to the and what we call eating obese foods, no exercise, okay, this leads to the diseases. Okay, uh, the lifestyle which cause some diseases is in our hand. We can control by having a proper lifestyle, having yoga or walking a half an hour per day, the exercising 120 minutes per day. Okay, and having a good sleep. These are some of the good lifestyle. Then what is health? According to WHO, as we have studied in the reproductive health, a health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It is nothing but a physical, mental, and social well-being. We should be physically fit, mentally fit, and we have to socially well-being. Then only we call it as a health. What happens? Our body is adversely affected by the what we call the microorganisms, where one or more organ systems are affected, and it shows some of the signs and symptoms. Then only we can say we are not healthy, where we can say it as not healthy. The diseases are broadly classified into two types: infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. What is infectious diseases? A disease which spreads from person to person. Contagious, we call it as contagious. Okay, that is, it spreads from person to person by means of touching or sneezing, droplets, aerosol, etc., etc. Like example, what we are seeing, corona. Non-infectious diseases, a diseases is infected to a person and it will be reside to the person and it never get transmit from person to person. Example, the cancer. Okay, how diseases, that is how we get infections. We get infections from the pathogens. What are pathogens? A disease causing organisms, we call it as pathogens. It may be a bacteria, it may be virus, fungi, protozoa, and helminthes, etc. Okay, try to learn one by one diseases. So I have mentioned the I have given the brief on the particular diseases. You can note down this and you can write as it is because it's enough for your test. The first one is that it is caused by bacteria, that is typhoid. Salmonella typhi. Salmonella Typhi, bacteria which causes typhoid. How did it get transmitted into our body? It transmitted through the food, contaminated water, and it enters to the intestine. From there, it enters to the bloodstream. Okay. Contaminated food and contaminated water is nothing but a infected person's fecal enter into the water. It then enters into the food. Okay. It taken up by the person who, and it is ingested, it is enter into the intestine, from then to the bloodstream. Okay. What are the symptoms of typhoid? High fever, 39 to 40 degree, that is 98.8, that is 99 to 102 degree. Weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and loss of appetite, and intestinal perforation. If it gets severely infected, we see a pores in the intestine and it leads to the death. How to test how to confirm whether it is typhoid or not? They perform a Widal test. From the Widal test, a typhoid can be confirmed. Okay. And it should be taken care, so that the repeated attack of typhoid will be fatal for the person. Okay. And there are also some of the vaccines for the typhoid, but still the typhoid may attack. Okay. Coming to the case study, the Mary Mallon, we call it as a typhoid Mary. She was a cook. I think, in England. She was a cook in a house where she was asymptomatic. That is, she did not show any symptom, but she was carrying typhoid. As she was cooking, okay, her what she cooked, and she was a maid in a house and used to cook, and he has to go give the food to his owners. All the owners or the persons in that home got infected and died because of the typhoid. And she go on changing with the houses. When where she went, where changed the house, everywhere the person came into the attack of typhoid and died. Then came to the conclusion, then they checked this typhoid, then came to the conclusion she was asymptomatic and she was the causal to spread the typhoid. So she was called as typhoid Mary. She was called typhoid Mary. Okay. Coming to next one is pneumonia. The pathogen Streptococcus pneumonia or Haemophilus influenza. The two strain, Streptococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenza. Okay. One is bacteria and another one is virus. Okay. Both infection which infects the alveoli of lungs, and these lungs are get filled with the fluid. Okay. And which leads to the severe respiratory problems. Then it starts, that is, first it infects, you get a cough with a sputum, and the sputum will be dark yellow. Then it turns into the red because the transportation of oxygen, the alveoli get bulged, it can't transport the oxygen properly. Then we start the symptoms like fever, chill, cough, headache, and in severe cases, if it fails to transport the oxygen, the lips and fingers turns into the gray to bluish in color. Pneumonia is very dangerous. Okay, so each and everyone has to be very careful and has to be vaccinated, because it transfers from one person to another person very fast. Okay, the inhale of droplets, we call it as aerosol, or even by sharing the glass or utensils with the infected person, it get transferred from one person to another person. Okay, infectious, it is an infectious disease. Next comes to the common cold. Common cold is caused by rhinovirus. That's virus, a group of virus, as we called COVID. That is, COVID also belongs to a class of rhinovirus. Okay, it infects the nose and respiratory tracts. That is, running nose, congestion, discharge, sore throat, hoarseness, cough, headache, tiredness, which usually lasts for 2 to 3 days, or it maximum of 7 days, where our immune system get immune ourselves and we can overcome. In severe cases, you can take the tablet. Transmission droplet from cough and sneezing from an infection person, either inhaled directly or indirectly. That is, if a sneeze falls on a surface, we touch on the surface, and if those surface touched what we take through the food, or if we touch the eyes, mouth, and ears, okay, it get transferred. Common cold. Next comes to the malaria. The pathogens are protozoans. that is Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malaria, Plasmodium falciparum. Where the falciparum is a malignant that is protozoan, which is very fatal. It is very fatal. How it is transmitted from the infected person? It transfers to the another person with the help of female Anopheles mosquito. What are the symptoms? Chill with high fever reoccur for every 4 hours. Every 4 hours. Why the chill or fever it comes? Because there is a life cycle here. Life cycle of malaria. Okay. In the life cycle of malaria, we have to go from the this portion. Just a minute. You just go, that is your for the left side there is a sporozoites. Okay, these sporozoites are the asexual spores which are produced in the female Anopheles mosquito, and it enters to the gut. Okay, in the gut, when this sporozoid get bite on the healthy human, these sporozoites are transferred at the time of sucking the blood. These sporozoites transfer to the blood stream and enters into the liver. In the liver, these sporozoites start reproducing asexually, producing two types of male and female spores. Where it is produced? It is produced inside the RBC cell. In the liver, it enters into the RBC cell and it start producing a asexual spores, that is a male and female spores. Okay, and once the spores are produced, these spores are matured, burst open and released, so that they goes and infect the other RBC cell, and it occurs every 4 hours. At the time of lysis, the hemozoin, a chemical hemozoin is released. This hemozoin, it causes a fevery chill or chill fever for every 4 hours. Every 4 hours, the rupture of RBC takes place by releasing the asexual spores, okay, of male and female spores. These spores releases at the time of rupture, the hemozoin, a chemical is released which causes for the chilly fever. These male and female spores will enters into the what we call female Anopheles mosquito when the normal female mosquito bites the infected human. Now these gametes enters into the mosquito. Here the male and female gamete fertilize and they produces sporozoites, so that from the sporozoites to healthy man, then travels to the liver. In the liver, they attacks the blood. In the blood cell, they produces male and female asexual spores. This at the every 4 hours, this RBC cell ruptures, releasing the male and female spores, which goes and affects the other cell, and they get releases, and they just release the every 4 hours infected and releases the spores. Okay, at the time of release, they releases hemozoin, a chemical which causes a high fever. Okay, and this male and female get transfer enters into the female Anopheles mosquito, and they get fertilized, and they once again releases sporozoids. Once again they releases sporozoid. This is a life cycle of malaria. Next comes amoebiosis or amoebic dysentery caused by the pathogen Entamoeba histolytica. What is the symptom? Constipation, abdomen pain, cramps, stool with excess mucus. If get severe dehydration, we come with a stool with a blood clots. Okay, how it get transmitted? It transmitted with the help of houseflies. This is very dangerous because if a houseflies goes and sit on the a fecal matter of infected person, and these housefly come back and sits on your food, and the amoebic dysentery, the entamoeba histolytica is transferred from fecal to your food. A contaminated water, if the fecal enter into the water, then it enters into the river stream, then it enters into the vegetables. These are the some of the matter where it enters to the mainstream and it get contaminated. Okay, next comes ascariasis. Ascaris is a commonly called roundworm. Okay, a roundworm or ascariasis, Ascaris lumbricoid. Okay, What are the symptoms with the internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, blockage of intestinal passage? Internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and internal blockage of intestinal passage. See, ascaris will be present, but in the there will be very few number in the humans. When they reproduce asexually to form many, then the intestinal pores get blocked, and it causes these are the some of the symptoms. How it transmitted? The eggs of the parasite excreted along with the feces of the infected person with the contaminated soil, water, and plant. That is, it has to be entered through the fecal matter only. It has to be entered to fecal matter only. Next comes the elephantiasis and filariasis. We call also called as filariasis or elephantiasis. Okay, the pathogen is Vacheria bancrofti and Vacheria malayi. Okay. What are the infection? That is the inflammation of organs usually below usually the lymphatic vessel of lower limb, and also some of the genetical organs also get infected, which were infected with the help of the bite of the mosquito. A female mosquito as a vector which bites the healthy that is infected person and get transferred to the healthy person. Okay. Next comes to ringworm. It's a fungus with the pathogen Trichophytum rubrum or epidermophytes. Mainly it is affects the dry skin, scaly lesion on various parts of the body such as skin, nail, scalp, intense itching. Okay, and also that how it is transmitted from the person to others by soil, using towels, clothes, or even comb. Mainly, the dry and wet condition causes the ringworm. Dry and wet weather causes the ringworm. Okay. The measures for personal hygiene. How we can have our personal hygiene? First, keep your body clean. That is, bath daily, twice or once in a day. Clear drinking water, food, vegetables, and fruits. Public hygiene includes proper disposal of waste and excreta. Normally you have to use the public toilet, or you have to use the toilet where you should not use the open field as your toilet. Okay. Periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, that is the ponds, reservoirs have to be cleaned. Now normally it may be a syntax, your drinking water tank, it has to be cleaned, because if you leave it open, the female anopheles mosquito will enter, cause for malaria. Okay. Avoid contact infectious person thing. Those who are infected, you try to be as far as possible and to be have hygienic. Avoid mosquitoes, and also introduce the gambiosa fish in a pond or a tank which eats the mosquito, Okay, this finishes our session. Okay, thank you.